Hi guys, Coach Christo here. So my last video talked a little bit about how to deal with things like nerves and lack of confidence on and off the field. In this video, I want to take a look at the training that you're doing or should be doing and how you can prepare yourself to be more confident in team sessions or in games with the technical work that you do on your own. Yes, you do need to be doing more than just the team training that you're doing. The 10,000 hour rule isn't perfect. There are some issues with it. And I don't think it's useful to count the number of hours that you train. It's more important, what you got out of that training. But if you think about it, 10,000 hours would be 3 hours a day for over 9 years. It's going to take years and many, many hours for you to become the player that you want to be. Now, the best thing to do is play. I truly believe that there is absolutely no substitute for just playing the beautiful game. I learned to love the game by playing in the park with my friends, and I also, learned how to become a good player in the park with my friends. I understand, though, that, not everyone always has a group of friends that they can be playing with, and that's fine. You can't always have a pickup game or something, but I will say, don't turn down that pickup game when it does come along, or that group session when you do get the opportunity to train in a group, because you think that you'll get more out of training on your own. Even if you're better than the kids who want to do a group session with you, or even if the kids are much better than you, I think you'll still get a lot out of that session. I've learned things from players much better than me, as good as me, and even from players considerably worse than me. I also learn every week from the players that I coach and work with. So you don't have a group to play with, you have to do it on your own, or maybe with one other person. That's fine. There's still so much that you can do on your own. But there are a few things to consider when you're coming up with your own, what you're gonna do in your own session. All training affects how confident you'll be on the field, but the only training you have complete control over is the training that you do by yourself. So in a small group, obviously you'll have some control over what you're doing in the training session, but you don't have complete control. And obviously, with your coach, you probably shouldn't be going to your coach and saying, I don't want to do this particular thing that he says that the team is doing that day. Doesn't seem like it'd be a good look to me. So that's why we're going to focus on the training that you do alone first. I'll get to videos on the other topics as well, but I want to focus on this because you have complete control over the sessions that you're doing alone. So what that means is you can build a session that will allow you to become more confident going into team sessions, going into trials, going into games. If confidence is something that you struggle with, then I highly recommend making some of the changes that I'll discuss. Even if you don't struggle with confidence though, I would still recommend watching the rest of this video and picking up some things and applying those principles to your individual training for reasons that I'll go into now. Now, if you're going to apply one principle that I talk about in this video to your own training, make it this one. Wherever you can, you want to make the situations that you put yourself in training similar to situations that you will find yourself in games. Now, I understand that when you're alone or even with just one other person, it's hard to make training feel like a game. So how do we do it? There are a few ways that I go about making training game realistic. Now, there's a time and place to focus on just first touch, just passing, just shooting, just 1v1s. But for the most part, I like to combine skills together. The bulk of a session that I do with a player, or that maybe I do on my own, will not be focused on any one thing, but it will be combining two or often even more things together. If you can take a great first touch, but you aren't used to making a good pass or making a good forward run afterwards, the first touch is useless. You never take a first touch and then just stop in a game. Just doesn't happen. Even if you mess up, you take a bad first touch, you try to get the ball under control with your second touch. You try to win the ball back from the defender you just lost the ball to. You never make a pass and just stop. So why are we training that? You make a pass, then you look to make a run and receive a pass again. If you're training your shot, not having just received a pass or taken a 1v1, then you're not arriving at the shot in a game realistic way. When the game comes, you're shooting in a completely different situation. No wonder that it will feel alien to you. No wonder that you will be nervous. Building on this idea, you almost never want to do a session that is all focused on one thing. You don't want to do a dribbling session or a passing session or a shooting session, because that's not what games are. You might need to control, pass, move, receive, dribble, clear the ball, shoot, head, and tackle, all in the same game. So a training session where all you did was shoot is training you for the wrong thing. It's okay to focus a bit more on a certain skill at a certain time, for sure. But don't just tunnel vision on that and forget everything else. Two other strategies with a bit of support in the research are to make practices random and unstructured. So what do I mean by this? This is going against a lot of posts I see on social media and what I've seen from other soccer content creators who maybe structure the perfect training program or sell the perfect training program to you and want you to do it to a T. Now, I'm not going to do that. This just isn't match realistic. Yes, maybe you do, a similar technical warm-up at every session that you know about beforehand, but I don't think that you should go into a session knowing exactly what you're going to do, because you don't go into a game knowing what you are going to do. Think about it. If you knew what you were going to do in every team training session you ever did, would that help you? Maybe you would feel a bit more relaxed and confident going into the session. Maybe you would even perform well, even better than you would if you hadn't known what was happening in that session. But I think it would hurt you in the long run. You would come to the game, and all of a sudden, for the first time, you would be facing the unknown. You would come to the game, and you wouldn't know what was going to happen anymore. Whatever confidence you gained from playing a little bit better, that's gone. I always have players asking me before sessions and during, warm-ups, what are we going to do today? And I don't tell them. Not only that, but I'm always trying to mix up my sessions, to throw my players off, to put them in uncomfortable situations that they are not familiar with. You should put yourself in uncomfortable situations too, even if you're training completely by yourself. I usually have some ideas of what I want to do in a session, but I don't go into a session with an exact plan. Just make sure you have enough ideas that you probably won't get to all of them. That's an easy way, to start. And make sure you keep adjusting your ideas as you go to keep yourself on your toes. Don't do the same thing every session. So that's what I mean by random. But what do I mean by unstructured? What I mean is this: mix up the order of how you do things. If you're gonna do a couple different variations of my first touch drill, so maybe, first touch to pass, first touch to dribble and shot, first touch to driving into space. Don't do these always in the same order. Mix it up, make some changes. And don't let yourself get used to doing things in a particular order. Get used to the unknown, because that is what games are. You never know what is going to happen. So I've talked a lot about preparing yourself for the unknown, and there's another way that I do that through the sessions that I do. Try to avoid having a set plan of exactly what you're going to do in a certain drill. Don't come up with a skill that you're going to use in a 1v1 beforehand. Make it up on the fly. Don't know exactly where you're going to take your first touch until you have to take your first touch. Because that's what you're going to have to do in a game. You're going to have to adjust. You're going to have to come up with these things as you're doing it. Try to make passing drills fluid, not regimented. This also means that if you make mistakes, just go with it. If you take a bad first touch, get the ball under control and carry on with the sequence that you were doing. Don't stop and start from the beginning. You aren't allowed to do that in games. So why would you let yourself do it in a training session? You're going to take a bad first touch in a game at least once, probably a lot more than that. You should be ready for that, and you should know what to do once you've taken that bad first touch. What comes next? If you don't do it in training, you're not going to know what to do in games. Now, the last thing I will say here is that having a training partner makes this infinitely easier. Playing with someone else automatically forces you to deal with things that you won't expect. You aren't in your partner's head. You can't know how they'll play a pass or how they'll try to beat you in a 1v1. You can get so much out of training alone, but adding someone else to your sessions, even if they're much better than you, even if they're much worse than you, can definitely help. Don't turn down a training session with a partner because you think, you're better off on your own. So this is going to sound a little bit weird after what I just said, because keeping training match realistic makes it anything but simple. Soccer is a simple game though, and for the most part, you should probably keep it simple. I love creativity as much as anyone, but even the best teams and the best players, they do the simple things right first, and then they add some flair on top of that. For me, the most important things to become technically proficient at are first touch, passing, and moving with the ball. Whether that's dribbling or running with the ball, both very, very important. These should be included in all of your sessions, and almost all of these should be included in every single drill you do. But what about shooting? Good shots, I've said it before and I'll say it again, good shots are just nice, strong passes into the net for the most part. Becoming good at these simple things will improve your confidence in team training sessions, in games, because these are the things that you'll be doing most of the time. If you've taken 10,000 first touches, then why is one more a problem? If you've made hundreds of passes that very week before the game, what's 100 more in the game? Become comfortable with these skills and you won't have a problem in the game. Of course, most players will want to add something to this, and that's totally fine. A striker should probably get comfortable putting the ball in the back of the net, whether that's a nice hard pass into the net or a shot. A winger should probably get comfortable in 1v1 situations until they're never scared of those situations in games. A defender should probably get comfortable at defending. Get a lot of reps in, doing what you will be most likely to do in games. So I got some hate for this when I posted about it. But building on what I just said, you want to be training the things that you are likely to do in games. If you're a winger, I'm probably not going to spend much time trying to teach you to defend crosses. If you're a wingback, I don't need you to become a great finisher. You probably play in a certain way because that's what you're good at. I would rather focus on making you even better at that than trying to cover up your weaknesses. Obviously, if you can't take a first touch or you can't make a pass, there's no hiding that. You need to be good at the basics that I talked about earlier. If you aren't good at taking defenders on in 1v1 situations though, you probably aren't a winger. And I would probably rather have you get better at passing or defending or finishing, depending on where you play and how you play. Not only will this make training more game realistic for you, it will also make training more enjoyable. Most people like doing what they're good at, and they spend hours doing it. I always kept my gameplay pretty simple, and my solitary training reflects that play style. I am good at taking a first touch, making quick decisions, driving forward, pulling defenders to me, passing, and finishing. I played forward, so my training sessions focused on what I was already good at, and they helped me succeed in games. I didn't spend hours doing 1v1s, and I never spent too much time and energy working on my dribbling skills. I usually drove into space when I had it, and passed when I didn't. Now I want to close out this video by begging you to make the training that you do alone enjoyable. You can always come up with ways to make sessions fun, and it's really, really important that you do. If training is miserable, you will do it less, and you will get less out of it. Not every session can be the best session you ever had. I get that. There will be bad days, but do what you can to make the process enjoyable. One thing that I'm a huge fan of is ending sessions with something that you really enjoy. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that you're great at. I often end sessions with first touch to finishing drills because I really enjoy that and I'm also good at it. But I also sometimes end sessions, lately I've been getting into a little bit of juggling freestyling, something that I am terrible at, but I enjoy it. So it keeps me coming back for the next session. Freestyle is definitely not a strength of mine, but I do enjoy it a lot. Ending a session with something fun will get you back on the field faster, and that's what we want. That is so important. Make an effort to make most of your training enjoyable, but always end with something that you love to do. You could also experiment with starting sessions with something that you really enjoy, to make you look forward to the beginning of your next training session. So there you go. I hope this has helped. And I hope that you can take these principles forward and, train to be confident when you step out on the field to play. I'm going to include some full training sessions in this video now. So I thought I'd do a voiceover for these training sessions. So here I am juggling a soccer ball. Obviously this is the one-person indoor session that I'm doing. A couple different juggling variations. So here, a little bit of wall juggling with a size 5. And then into a size 1 soccer ball. Obviously, you can mix up the order of these, like I talked about earlier. I like to use a size 1 and the tennis ball just to mix things up. A little bit of wall passing, really, really simple. And obviously, I know where the ball's coming from, but ball always comes back to you a little bit differently, from the wall, and you have to adjust. If I make a mistake, I just keep going. and a couple different variations of this wall passing. Here I'm doing side to side, but I make sure it's not always, left, right, left, right. I'm mixing it up. Sometimes I stay on the same side. Sometimes I play, one touch pass. I never know exactly what I'm going to do. I just make it up on the fly. And here one more variation. So this is, the two cones. So I'm playing either side of the cone or in between. And again, sometimes I'll skip the middle. Sometimes I'll stay on the same side just to mix it up so that I never know exactly what's happening. If I mess up, I just keep going, because, in a game, if we mess up, we just got to keep going. And a little bit of bouncing wall pass here. Another thing that I really enjoy doing, and obviously, playing the ball off the bounce is a good skill to have, and it can be tricky. Always, tough to know exactly where the bounce is gonna take it, especially in a tight space. Here, I don't have a lot of room. Here, another variation. I'm just doing it with the laces more. A little bit trickier at times to keep it, under control. But yeah, another variation that I find very helpful for these, tight space sessions. And two-way wall juggling. So obviously I did, just wall juggling before. This makes it a little bit tougher. I should be mixing it up a little bit more, not going just side to side, but that's all right. The more directions you can play in, the better. And here I'm doing a three-way. So I got a wall on each side. And I'll play it to the last wall. That little mistake there, but that's fine. Just get it under control and play. So playing to each of the three sides. And then here, two-way, playing off the bounce. So similar to what I was doing before, but in the two directions. Obviously, the more directions you can play in, the better. This was a little bit tricky to do in three directions, so I just did two. And here I am doing, wall passes again, but usually two touch, playing in two directions. And again, just mixing it up. Sometimes I'll play it back to the same wall that I just got it from. If I make a mistake, just get it under control and play. Adding in, some changes of directions. Sometimes I'll take one touch. Sometimes I'll take two or three. And here I just added in the cone. So we're playing around the cone a little bit. Every once in a while I'll run in front of the cone as if it's a defender. Run around the cone there. Nice little touch there. Just, adds a little bit of intensity. And another thing to think about if I have to play around the cone. Obviously, if I hit the cone or anything, just carry on, just like we would in a game. And here, we're doing two-way juggling, bouncing pass, and pass on the floor. So all three things that we just did, mixing it up into one drill. Love doing this, just playing the ball around. Mixing up how I'm going to take that touch and how I'm going to play the ball either on the floor or in the air, forces me to be creative. And here a little bit of dribbling as well. This is my favorite drill to do on my own, and especially if I don't have a lot of space. Tough to mimic 1v1s very quickly, but just being able to take those nice small touches and take the ball where I want to. Obviously, I'm hitting the cones sometimes here. That's totally fine. I'm trying to push myself. I'm trying to go as quick as I can. And if I do mess up, I just carry on. I'll fix the cones, when I've finished here while I'm resting. Doesn't matter if I knock any over or anything, like right there. And on to the outdoor one-person session. And of course, we're going to do my favorite drill, the first touch. So obviously, just as important as the first touch is what we do after the first touch. So sometimes I'm going to stop the ball
right where I am, and then take it into space, as if there's a defender tight on me and I need to, create that space. Sometimes I'll take the first touch, make that first touch a little bit bigger, and take it into space with the first touch, as if there is space in front of me and I can drive into the space and then maybe take a 1v1. But you'll notice I'm never just taking the first touch and then just stopping and going to take another first touch. Always adding something in afterwards. Obviously, I could even add in a pass or a shot or a cross. Here we are doing a little bit of dribbling freestyle, another thing that I really, really enjoy. And yet this forces that creativity that we talked about. I have no idea what I'm going to do when I hop into this box. I just do it. Make sure it's, nice and intense. And here I am again, same thing. Different day, obviously. But yeah, just, forcing myself to be creative. If you have the ball and you're dribbling around in a game, maybe in a tight space, this is what we're doing. We're looking to create that space. Nice small touches, sharp touches. As long as the intensity is high, you're definitely getting something out of this. And obviously, just like with everything, if I mess up, just get the ball back under control and go. And this is the Ronaldinho drill again, this time outside. And yeah, again, this drill just forces me to be creative, to figure out what I'm going to do on the fly. I'm not, making a path through the cones that I'm going to follow every time. It's completely made up on the go. Here I am again, a little bit different view, but same thing. Just forcing myself to be creative, add in some moves if I want to, and if I mess up, just keep going. And this would be the first touch drill that I did at the start, but into a shot. Just different variations you can do. 1v1 to shot as well, and the Ronaldinho drill to a shot. Just showing you that the variations are endless. You can add in anything. You could do a pass afterwards. You could do a long pass afterwards. You could do Ronaldinho drill to dribble to shot or pass. And then just finishing up with a little bit of freestyle, which, as I said, I'm not good at all, but I enjoy doing it, and that's what matters. So doing this at the end of the session makes me remember the session, and remember that I enjoyed it.